So, hello everyone. I have a pleasure to be here today and to tell you about better tools for content editors. So, it will be mainly about modules, modifiers and looks. And let me introduce myself. I am Petr Illek. I work for Morph. It's a company based in Sydney, Australia, and I'm a front-end developer. And let me show this screen. I think you are all familiar with this. It's Barkik from the Drupal 8.6, and this is the same Barkik after 2 hours of work with these modules. There is no theming involved. It's still the same Barkik, but it just has applied a few of these modifications. This is after a few more minutes. This one as well. So I would like to show you today how you can do these changes to your theme and to your content. We have been working on this for 2 years, more than 2 years actually. We have tried different approaches and different systems how to work with these modifications, but in the end we came up with some good solution which is on Drupal.org. Now a bit about history of these. In 2013 the Drupal 7 paragraphs module was released, and it was quite a breakthrough with the options which editors have to do their content, work with their content. And there was many modules which start to build upon paragraphs. We have built 2 of these. It was paragraph spec, which adds some paragraph bundles, so you can quickly set up some basic content. And the other one was classy paragraph, which adds a class, which allows you to add a class to the paragraph from the node edit screen, and then in the theme you can have some styling for this class. So that was quite good for the editors, that they have some control over it. But still the editors are in pain, because if they need some simple change, they need to call us, like themers and front-end developers, to do this change. And if it's a really simple one-line change, it can take some time, because we have all these workflows and we need to deploy this change. So it's hard for them to understand why this easy change takes too long. And the classy paragraph is not flexible enough. Even if we provide them 50 variants, they will ask for 51st variant that it's not in the system. On the other hand, we as developers are worried about, should we give the power to the editor? They can do crazy stuff like this. You cannot read it probably because it's a gray text on brown background. I have seen it in a presentation a few years ago. So actually used like provide the content. So do we want to allow editors to do this? And we don't want to lose the control over our structure, because Drupal is known for the structure, that the content is structured. So that we have, therefore we have came with the modifications. So modification is something which doesn't change the content itself, it just changes the properties of the element. And it will be good if we can set some limits on the modification, so the editors cannot do crazy stuff. But if the editor is good enough and he knew what he's doing, we can provide them a complete freedom with the modifications. And the last thing, but not the least, is that we can give some responsibility for how the site looks to the editors. So they are responsible not only for the content, but for the presentation of the content as well. Yeah. Here are some modifications examples. You have seen it before on the first slide. That on this screen you can see that there is H1, it looks different on each of these screenshot. There is different fonts, there is transparency, there is video in background, but the content is still the same. It's just that we have applied some modification to it. So first start with the modifiers module. It's like the central part of it. It's just an API module, so it doesn't do anything on its own, but it provides all the necessary functions. So it extracts the values from the modifications field and attach these values to elements which are defined by selector. So anything which has a selector, like CSS selector on the output, can have a modifier applied to. So it can be entities, so complete node, it can be a theme region, it can be a vCivic class, so something the content editor just do in the vCivic, in the content. You can have a modification which will be applied to this. So some data about the modifier usage. Currently it's over or at 200 sites. It's jumped a bit last week, and it's used on small personal sites up to big enterprise project, and it's included in Australian government distribution of CMS, which will be released in a few days now. So that's about it. The second module is a modifier spec. It's we prepared a set of modifiers, so you can quickly start working with it. So you don't need to create your own one. And we found out that some of these modifiers are really common, and we use them on multiple projects. So we make a pack of them. They are using paragraphs again as the storage for the values. So the editors will be familiar with this. And the config which is provided with the modules is namespace, so it should not clash with your own setup or your own config. If the modifiers need some JavaScript library, we have provided information where you can get the library. We have tested few different options, so we end up with some which we think is the best fit for this module. And each of the modifiers inside this tag has media query support. So you can have different modification on mobile, and it can turn off on tablet or desktop, so you can play with it. So next one, it's the height modifier. It's the simplest modifier which is in the pack. You can see the UI is just simple. It's one checkbox. So if you check it, it will hide the element which is attached to. It will provide a display none, so it's just CSS height with CSS, and this is the code for it. So you can see that we are checking if the checkbox is really checked, and if so, we are taking the media query from it and construct the CSS which is then output on the page. So this is really simple, and you can write modifiers like this, with easy. On the other hand, this is the video background modifier, which is more complicated. You can see the ellipses at the start and the end. The code is much more longer. I have provided just this snippet here because you can see that we are using some JavaScript library, so they are attached directly in the modifier. So it will get attached only if you use it on the page, so it will not be loaded every time. So that's nice stuff. It also creates some own CSS style, because the library we have used, the video.js, needs some CSS for it. And we are also providing here at the bottom extra class which is add to this element. It's modifiers as background. I'm not sure if you can read it now. And we have found out that if you put a background, any background on some element, you would like to put there some padding, so the content is not going to the edges because it will not look nice. So, but we don't want to hard code the padding value inside the modifier, so instead we have provided this class, and then you can do some styling on your own and provide value for the padding as you wish. So these were like examples for two modifiers, and now I would like to play a video of how to use the background video modifier in a real world. So this is the site we have seen before. I'm going to structure, select the looks entities, and edit. I have prepared some of the looks here, so I'm editing the one called video. In this example, I'm using looks, but you can actually put this modifier onto a paragraph in the content in Node edit, so it doesn't need to be just on the look. I'm selecting the video I have uploaded before. I'm using the entity browser here to select the media. It's a fallback image. So, for example, we have found out that on mobiles, the video is often not played because the developers of the systems doesn't want to. So we are instead using the fallback image on the mobiles, and you can see that the video is there. It was a few clicks to put it there. Next one are two modifiers which we have found out that they cannot be that simply as we think before. For example, the fonts one. Originally, we were thinking only about providing a font family, but then we have found out that you would like a different font family for your content and different font family for your headings, or different sizing and these. So we can obviously create multiple modifiers for all of these simple tags, but it will be like UX fail to do it so. So we have merged them together in one fonts modifier. So you can specify the font family, and then you can apply the font on the base styling for the whole element, and separate styling for headings. So you can see it here. That's a screenshot from the paragraph. So H1 has different styling than H2, than H3, and so on. So that's fonts modifier, and now the colors modifiers, it's the same story. We have originally provided just the background, but then if you have dark background, you need to provide a light color for the text. So we have added the text color inside the modifier, and then you would like different color for the link. So we have provided a field for the link as well. For all of these properties, we have provided the hover option, so you can have different color when you hover over the element. And just for fun, we have provided transition, so it can be a smooth transition between these colors. The colors which are available is everything which CSS understands. So it can be a hex color, RGB, RGBA. The module will understand. Next one is the list of all of these modifiers inside the modifier spec. Here I would like just talk about these custom ones, because they are quite different. The custom means that the editor has the freedom to choose its own color, so they can really use the hex value and or the RGBA. But there is a color modifier without the custom, and this one will actually install color library. It's done as a taxonomy term. So the editors can predefine some colors, for example, brand colors of their company, and then use them from select list inside this color modifier. So it's like limiting the freedom of the colors, so they don't need to remember all these values. They just choose what someone else define for them, and they have, as it's a taxonomy, they can have easy way how to apply and add another color inside the taxonomy list. Now something about what can you do with the modifier spec. So it's a set of common modifications, so you can quickly get it up and running in just a few minutes. And it's also served as a demo if you would like to create your own modifiers. Just look inside what we have done, how the code is structured. You can use the height modifier for a simple modification, or choose a different one which will allow you to edit some libraries. You will see the examples of code there. And we have built our custom modifiers like this, which are not in the pack, but they provide us with different functionality. Now, this is another video. I would like to show you how to add complete new look. So I'm again going to the looks, add new look. I'm calling it Umami. You all knew the Umami install profile from the new Drupal. And I'm just changing here the fonts, properties, and the colors. So I'm choosing the custom color modifier for the body, putting there the right color, so you can see that what I have been talking about, all these fields. But in this case, I need just the background color, not the text color or something else. And I'm here attaching the fonts modifier. So here I have URL from Google Fonts with Open Sans and Scope 1. These are the fonts which are used on the Umami profile. And I'm attaching some base style. You can see it's a shorthand CSS for this, and there is a description, so even the editors which are not CSS aware or not using it daily can figure it out how they should use it. I'm providing different style for H1, H2, H3. I have done a couple of other things, but all was about the colors and fonts, so I have skipped this part because it was kind of boring. And now we can see that after reload it's changed, and you cannot probably see because the Umami color is quite light, the background, so there is a light orange background on this. You can see the change, the fonts has changed, the menu has changed. There is a hover effect on the menu which goes from black to red. The links are green, and so in like 2 or 3 minutes I've changed the bar tick to looks like this. So now about the look. This is the way how we can override one of the disadvantage of modifiers, and that is that the modifier is for a single use. So if you need to use it on multiple pages, you will need to set up it again and again on the paragraph or block or whatever. But with look, you can do the settings in one place and then apply the look. And we have provided some conditions. I will be showing them later. So in the look, you will define a modifier set, and then the set will be mapped to the actual selector from your template. I will show it in detail. So the look is standard Drupal entity. So you can see the fields and the UI will be familiar for you and for the editors. It's fieldable and it uses the Drupal cache. So that's important. I will show you why. This is the mapping. That's how you can transfer the set of the modifiers to your theme. So, for example, the first one is a is a field which I called modifier HTML, and I map it to HTML selector. So it's just go to the HTML tag on your page, and inside this modifier, I am usually changing just the font size for the whole page. So each other fonts which are usually set in RMs will change their size appropriate to this change here. In the selector, you can use normal CSS selector with the nesting. So you can get to the desired element on the page. So if you put there some class from the Civic, it will work on this. And you can see the crosses, the arrows at the beginning, so you can order the modifier set here, and they will be all put in that order in the CSS on the page. So again, you can change what will go first, what will go last, and yeah, the CSS cascade will work. And the last thing, that each team has its own mapping. So if you have multiple teams, and all of these teams has, for example, header element. If the header element on one team, it can be just the header tag. On other, it can be ID mine header. So you can map the header modifier, the modifier set to this element on different team. Now the looks provide a tree structure, like you know from menu or taxonomy. So you can order them in a parent-child relationship, and each of the modification can be overridden, inherited by the child, but also overridden by the child. So if I, in this lobster Telium font, I will change something, the video look will get that modification, and if the video look doesn't use the same modifiers, it will use it. If it uses the same modifier, it will override the parent. And this is like follow-up screen if it's used the same screenshot, because it's about the caching of the looks. If you provide the look, if you create the look, it will get cached, so it's not rendered each time. But if you do some changes, for example, here in this lobster font, its cache gets invalidated, and it will be regenerated on next request. But also the video look, because it's a child of it, so it inherits the properties of the parent. So these are the why we use the cache tags from Drupal. That's something I have been talking about in the beginning, that the looks are reusable and you can use them on different conditions. So you can use it as a default. So for the whole site, you can set this is a default look, which will be used everywhere. But you can set it also just per section of the site, different on directly on the look. There is a field where you can write URL with asterisk, so you can set that this portion of the site will use this look. And you can also provide a look field directly on the node or the entity, which will then use the look you select on the node. And there is a different importance of these, so you can set all of these together. And if you set the default look, it will be used everywhere, but if you use the field on the node, it will override the default one. And so there is different importance of these. We have also provided a plugin inside the block system, block placement. So if you enable looks, you will have this look tab, and you can place block according to the look. So for example, you have some landing page for a product, and it has a different logo than the companion, so you can hide the companion just on the look which you put on this page, and provide a custom block with different logo which will be shown instead of it. So something about the look usage. You can use it for landing pages, you can use it for accessibility improvements. I have used it on my own site, Healthy Developer, so yeah, you can check it out. You can do a quick mock-up creation for your clients if they need to see how the site will looks like in different colors. You can do it quickly. It can be used for A/B testing, so you can check different looks of the site and on different group of visitors. And yeah, with some script you can do a seasonal change or time change or change on based on another condition. So I'm going to an end. It's quite quick. Where you can start, you can download the modules. That's the first step. But in case you get stuck or find a bug, just there are some channels how you can communicate with us, or there is a documentation page we have made for the modifiers module. There is a Slack channel on Drupal Slack. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions now, or I can show you some demo.
Yeah. Thanks for your presentation. Do you have any examples of clients who have been using this in production environments? And second question, how long did it take those clients to wreck the website or do something that was completely outside the corporate identity?
Big question.
Yeah. So thank you. So the question was about if I can provide some real examples and how long it takes the client to wreck the...
To wreck the website, to do something completely out of scope and break something or do something that is not in line with corporate identity. And
So how long did it take to break the site outside the corporate identity? Answer for this first question, I can show you probably later, because I'm not sure if I can show some of these sites. I can show you maybe my own site that use it. Our own site, the morph.com, is using these modifiers, so you can look at these. And for the second question, we haven't seen it yet. The editors are quite happy with the approach or with the possibilities they have, and I haven't seen any issues so far that they break the site. It's built for them that they can break it, and they use it for this, so they can part of the site, their site can look really different from their corporate identity, and that's why we have built it, because it was the requirement from them.
I guess he was first now. I have some sort of follow-up question actually, because as a front-end developer I might be a bit skeptic as well. But is there like a general hard reset functionality or something included in there? Imagine an intern, well, he goes crazy and makes his whole sketchbook of some sort of page or website. Is there like a hard reset so he can go back to the resets?
I will repeat the question. If there is some hard-baked reset inside the looks, so if someone makes some changes, they can go back. For the looks, it's as it's a normal Drupal entity, you can enable revisions on it. So probably that's the answer. So you can go to like revision, older revision to revert this.
So I think it's possible to set a color scheme per team. No, that's not a problem. Predefined color scheme, for example, that you can use in your modifiers.
If there is an option to provide a color scheme for the per team, you can create the color library using the taxonomy colors. Yeah, but it's not. It's like single colors, so it's not a complete color schema which will be used. But this color taxonomy is shared between the looks and the teams, so there is nothing like this. But you can prepare a look which will use the theme, and inside the loop you can prepare the color schema for it. So, and it can be a parent look.
So you can have a color scheme per team.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
This question is related to the previous one. So when using a modifier, can we predefine a set of colors that user can choose? Or yes. Okay. Because I thought that they would always like pick from the whole circle out of circle colors?
No, you can you can allow them to use different type of modifier. There is this custom color which allows them to choose freely from all the colors, or there are the counterparts without this custom one, and they are choosing from the predefined color library. Yeah?
Which profile of content editors is targeting? Because I'm thinking to my editors, they contribute content daily. Normally they don't have to change the display of their content. So who was targeting when it was designed?
So the question is, for which level of editors we have like designed this system? It's probably not for the like standard or normal editors, but it depends on the job, on the project. Sometimes all the editors will use this. Sometimes there will be just one editor which can have access to the loops or the modifiers and do the changes on the site because he has some knowledge or he has the responsibility that he can do this. So it really depends on the level of the editors and how the company is structured.
And the access to the modifiers, they are set on the permissions level, on the user permissions, or?
It's a paragraph actually. So you can enable there is a paragraph permission submodule. So by this you can limit the access to the
To
modifier.
a specific modifier?
Yeah. Each of the modifier is its own submodule. Even in the modifier spec, there is 18 submodules, so you can enable just the one you want on the site, and then with the paragraph permissions, you can probably limit the. I haven't tested it, but yeah, it should work. Another question? Yeah?
Is using enhancements to make changes? Is it a product or performance?
It's all these modifiers output the CSS. It's put in the head of the site as an inline style. So there is a style, and we haven't found any problems with performance. Yeah. So, no other questions? Or, if you have another question, I will be around for next 2 days. So feel free to ask me, or here is my colleague. So thank you for your attention.